So these are my old taillights. You know, your standard, 65 bezel, standard little red lens with little reflectors. And if you pop this off, I retrofitted a trailer brake light. I basically kind of trimmed it down to size. That way it would fit inside the housing. And that's basically what my LED lights were for my 1965 Mustang. The other side is just like it. And so I got these custom taillights made by 396 Marrow. You can find them on Instagram. But dude, these are so nice. So it's a billet aluminum, the little housing right here. He's got a little spacer. You got the nice little frosted acrylic on both. It's top notch. This, I'm super happy. So I'm diving into everything, taking off the old tail lights so I can kind of start the installation. We'll go over the instructions, make sure we have everything out, and I'm going to try and document in video as much as I can so you guys can kind of see in case you guys are interested in getting taillights like this. Remember, I put these extra screws in here, that way it kind of kept it pretty stable. Oh, so I know this white wire. So these are unplugged. These were on the back of it right here, but I need to remove this. This was my ground. All right, so ground off. One at a time. That was basically one tail light right there. And they, you know what? They serve the purpose good. We're gonna upgrade, okay? All right, so old tail light is out. I do still have the housing in there just in case. We're gonna see if that needs to come out or not. Let's go ahead and read his instructions and see what we need to do. So 1965 Mustang Switchback sequential taillights installation. Lights are meant for off-road use only. Read the installation instructions entirely before installing LED flashers needed. I do have LED flashers. I have the LED flashers. So, but yes, we're reading the instructions. We have not yet installed them. Caring for the lights, do not use a solvent cleaner such as alcohol or ammonia-based cleaners like Windex. Doing so may result in the surface becoming cloudy over time. Cloudy, huh? Okay, yeah. I'm picking. We're not going to do that. Okay, I promise. All right, best way to clean the acrylics is just light soap, water, followed by drying with a microfiber towel. I think we can handle that. Items include driver and passenger light assembly. So I kind of looked at these and flipping them over. He's got the arrow that kind of indicate to what side this goes on, and so I'm pretty sure these go toward the outside of the car, because yeah, pretty sure this goes to the outside of the car, because I'm not sure if that's clear, but anyways, yeah, outside the car, and then there's the arrow to kind of tell you which way the lights kind of go. Items that are included: driver, passenger side assembly, 632 hardware. I think this is the 632 hardware. Items needed: wire for switched inputs to trunk. I think we got that. Car's wired up. Wire connectors, LED flashers, 5 amp fuse. I believe we have all 3 of those, and we have the little electrical set right there. All right, step 1. First, remove the old taillights and the housings from the car. The metal housing needs slight mods for proper installation. With the metal housings removed, grind and roll the lip for the original screw holes smooth as seen in figure 1. Well, let's go get them. All right. Take that out. Gross. All right. So taking a gander at the instructions. So they say that you need this little bulge that kind of is on the housing to be grounded down smooth, and then of course the middle part. Now, there's so many different companies that make these things and repop and all that good stuff. So I don't see, there's no bulge that's kind of on the flange of mine. This may be different for yours, so just bear with me. I just don't have to do that extra step. But I do need to ground this guy smooth. Basically just gotta get this guy flat. All right, we got the letter opener 3000 to help us out. So grounded smooth. So cool, that little lip gone. All right, so kind of continuing back on the back of the page. Next, remove the stock bulb socket in the back of the housing. That is complete. And with the housing modified, now the new taillight assembly may be installed. The sequential direction of the assembly is marked with the arrow on the back as shown in figure 2. Right there, see little arrows, and then as you can kind of see, there's the arrows right there. Yeah, so also verify bezel placement. So like I said, I'm pretty sure these go toward the outside of the car, and they even have this kind of pointed, which I'm assuming this kind of goes outside the car, meaning this will be my driver's side. So let's continue to the next one. Let's see. Placing the gasket against, place the gasket against the housing lip, feed the wire bundle through the hole in the back of the housing, and use this applied 632 hardware to secure the billet bezel and light assembly to the housing. With the blue Loctite on the ends of the thread, do not over tighten the fasteners. Well, we got some blue Loctite. Perfect. So, blue Loctite. Install the taillight assembly into the back of the car. So, I think what we got going on here is we're going to take one of these gaskets. The gaskets will go over this guy. Simple as that. Done deal. All right. Then we need to attach a light fixture to the housing. So let me get both my hands for this. All right. So everything is fished through. So the bolt holes kind of are all somewhat lined up. So I'm gonna go ahead and go get the hardware and see about getting that locked down. We got this fed through, all the wires fed through. So instructions were pretty clear, not to over tight them. So, but we do got a full net on all of them, so that it's secure. There's no wiggling. Fasteners are all tight. So let's see what's next. Well, the next part is just stick it on the dang car. So let's go ahead and put this thing in its place. All right, let's see. See if I can do it one-handed. Is it hung up on something? Let's see. Am I holding my tongue right? Oh, maybe it's... Shit, is this upside down? No way I did this upside down. Well, okay, this is the passenger side light. We're gonna go ahead and swap this back. All right, so just slipped it on. So now I just gotta kind of bolt the hardware up, and so yeah, there is. So just looking at them, just you know, there's nothing wrong with them. They do have this little spacer that kind of sits it up a little, just FYI, for anyone that was looking at this, just trying to look at like normal profile of the taillights. They are going to poke a little more than like the stock one. Don't worry, my bumper's crooked. So, but for the most part, super happy so far. Let me go ahead and fasten everything down. All right, so taillights are on, nice and solid. These things are, they look so good. They look so good. All right, so first thing we need to wire in, inline fuse for the constant power on. That's going to be this red wire right here. Yeah, it's going to be the red wire. We're going to wire that to the battery. That's why we got the inline fuse. Cool. So let's go ahead and get that all wired up. So I built the constant power on harness. So this will connect to the battery, and then this will have a inline fuse where then it comes out of the battery box, and then this will plug straight to the constant on. I've wired on some little spade connectors for the park light, for the brake light. So those should plug right on in. Now I'm trying to build in, when the key gets turned on, I'm going to use my fuel pump because that is 12 volts supplied when keyed on. So going to have key on, and I got to build a harness that comes off of there and goes to the startup sequence wire in both taillights. So that's currently what I'm working on building right now, and I think we're going to use our blue wire, maybe green, maybe yellow. Haven't decided. So all right, sorry I can't really show you guys like every little possible thing, but here's going to be an update. So we have wired in the turn signal. We've wired in the constant power. This is going to be the brake light. We're currently hunting down under the dash, which I did find. Under the dash, the wire harness, we need to disconnect the third brake light from the harness to plug it into the brake switch. That way we get brake lights. That way we get brake lights through this wire right here. But we got the startup sequence. That's something else we need to do, is put on the show lights, which I might use the fuel pump wire right there. So far things are going good. The lights look great. I tested them out. What we have done is we've manipulated the wire harness under the dash so that the third brake light is only getting power from when the brake pedal and the brake pedal switch are activated from pressing on the brake. But we left the turn signals alone. What this does is it gives it power when the turn signal turns on. So back here, let me see. So I've kind of made the third brake light into the brake light wiring, and the old brake lights that are the brake light wiring, because there's one that goes to left tail light, one that goes to right tail light. Those are now turn signal wires only. They're not brake lights. Now, the very last thing we have left, because just to kind of recap, turn signals wired, constant power is wired. Maybe kind of dark to see, but this is the brake light wired. This is the parking light, running light. And then this is the startup sequence, which startup sequence is piggybacking off of the fuel pump. Now all that's left is to put a switch, so this needs a 12 volt signal. And so we have this, which is the electric fuel pump wiring that came with the chassis harness. It's already ran back here, so I think what I'm gonna do is I'm going to find it under the dash, the wiring under the dash. I'm going to probably cut it and then go find a 12 volt hot source to basically splice into that to a 12 volt hot up there, and then I'm going to cut this into a harness so that it splits off to the two tail lights, and then that way we'll now have the signal switch for the show lights. And of course, I did buy a switch. So here's a little switch that I'm going to use so that I can turn it on and off. We're almost finished with this. I might as well show you guys what we got. So if I push just the brake pedal, right, you can see the reflection off the trash can. There we go. And you get the F1 style lights. Boom. Cool, right? So if we key on, startup sequence. Cool, 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 cool. This is the running light. This is the brake light. With the running light on, that is the turn signal. So, there we go. All right, so time to go find that fuel pump wire and get to work. At the time of making this video, I have completed the installation of the taillights, the wiring and everything like that for the show lights, for the blinkers, for the brake lights, for the startup sequence, and everything else that was kind of involved. So I'm going to kind of go over where we left off from the last clip, because I have done this in multiple parts, multiple days, and it's not going to take multiple days to install these taillights. Okay, don't let that fool you or intimidate you into getting these lights. I just have a 9 to 5, and I did the install during the week, and so that's why it just took me so long. Just trying to do one install that hides all the wires, does a nice, good, finished job at it. So that's why it took me so long. I'm doing this after work and all that good stuff. So anyways, moving on from my life story, let me go ahead and get the keys, and I'll pop the trunk, and I'll show you what the trunk looks like, and I'll explain modifications that I've done under the dash with the wire harness that's there, and the switch and stuff. So, all right, so kind of moving to the back of the car. Let me get the, okay, perfect. So, pop the trunk. Cool. So it is no longer a big old wiring mess. Okay. So this is kind of what the trunk's going to be like. I do have this wire. I might grab some loom just to cover up, this little bit. But that is the sequence on and sequence, shutting off lights. So, but for the most part, it's all nice and tucked up. So moving along into the car. So this is the switch for the show lights. Okay, so I wired, so you could wire this to a constant hot, right? But I didn't want to do that. I feel like I'm gonna find myself killing my battery. So I have to have key on. The car doesn't have to be running, but key on, and I can flip this switch. It's a rotary dial, so it just spins, and it will turn it on off. Now, right here is the wire that goes to this switch right here. This is the, so when this gets keyed on, my little ignition switch right there, when I get ignition and the key is turned on, this switch will activate the show lights. So let me throw my keys, ignition on. So I've disabled the fuel pump and the drive line, so we're not running the fuel pump constantly. It's not running all the accessories. And so literally the only thing that is that's turned on is going to be the radio, the speakers that it runs, of course, and then all the other accessories things. But this car really is just radio, the lights, yeah, that's it. So if I click this little switch right here, the show lights will be on, and you can see them right there, show lights, right? And then if I go here and flick it break off right there, so we throw the switch and now they're off, and we have normal operation. So it's worked out pretty good. I'm super happy with it. And now we're kind of just back to normal operation. When I bought these taillights, the problem I was trying to solve was I didn't have a taillight that I felt was bright enough and safe enough. Because if I turned on the parking light or the running light, or if I had any of the regular lights on, the brake light seemed to be drowned out. The brake light was not a large enough contrast difference between the running light and the brake light. So that's where I was trying to solve the problem there. Secondly, if I was going to have some nicer taillights purchased, I wanted to I was willing to spend a little bit of money for them. All the animation that kind of comes with the taillights, that's a bonus to me. So I'm just going to have them, enjoy them. The show mode, it works pretty good. And in fact, I was just kind of thinking, I don't actually have hazard lights in the car, wired in the harness. So this is a pretty good alternative, I would say. It's not a traditional hazard blink, but these will definitely get some attention, whether you're on the side of the road changing the tire, or if you're at a car show or something like that. So once again, I'm super happy with them. The install was somewhat straightforward. It is not a plug and play thing. You will have to modify your wire harness. In the instructions, there's pretty clear suggestions of how you should go about it. So when you do get these lights, just make sure you have a higher altitude with electrical wiring and things like that, just to keep the running lights. Or get a buddy who you feel that can help you out with the install.
Brake lights again. Okay, there's a turn signal. Back to the running lights. No, this is show mode, sorry. So this is show mode. So something important to know, show mode will cancel all other functions, blinkers, brake lights. You won't have those other light functions if show mode is turned on. Running lights. Now here's running lights off. Brake light. Brake light again. There's the running lights, brake lights again. There's the show mode. There they're off. And then there's the shutdown sequence.